This week's meeting is John Ciocca, right? Ciocca Jr. He a graduate of distinction from the Estero High School 2018 class. How long has Estero High School been there?
30 years.
30 years?
Yeah.
Oh, that long. Okay. He has developed 35 plus apps, runs his own company, which is in what, app developing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And he had just returned within the last couple of weeks from the Worldwide Developers Conference out in California, of which he won a scholarship to. John brought with him his dad, John Sr., and his brother Christian.
Hi.
And welcome. Marilyn is going to be asking John some questions, and when I saw the article in the paper, I really got excited because, you know, the future of this world depends upon these kind of guys. And being a distinguished student and you know, being out at the Worldwide Developers Conference was right up our alley as the MAC group, and so I was excited that he agreed to come. Thanks, John. Marilyn.
Okay. Well,
Guys, make sure you speak up so everybody can hear you.
We're happy to have you, and I sent you a list of questions. But I think since the most recent experience you've had was at the Worldwide Developers Conference, and the first thing I would ask you is, what did you have to do to win a scholarship today?
So each year, I think they started back in 2013.
Okay, you can talk to them.
So Apple holds, so back in 2013 it started with about like 150 students, and now they've expanded to 350 students. And
A little louder, John.
yeah, so each year you have to build a different app, and then also along with that you'll write an essay, and they review it, and I believe it's a few thousand kids, but they don't actually tell us. And so let's see. This year was a Swift Playground, which is an app on the iPad, and so you just have to be really creative with it, and then you have to write about the technologies you use in it, and then they'll select the 350 students, and you'll get an email, and it's like a pretty big deal.
India.
I want to just show this, I meant to show this really short video. It'll sort of give you an idea of where he was.
I'm Asma Nurullah from India, and I developed the app Let's Shapify.
My app is my voice, and I built it for people with speech and reading disabilities.
The playground I developed lets users draw programs with an Apple Pencil.
My favorite app is the one I'm working on right now. It's going to be called Study Buddy Connection. It's a platform where tutors and students can connect.
My app is called UV Safe, and what it does, it essentially reminds you to put on sunscreen based on the UV index.
So what do you think of Mr. Tim?
Oh, he's a blast. It was a surprise. So a couple days before I got out there, they sent me an email they had a special opportunity to meet up ahead of time. So I didn't really know what it was. So they brought us into the room there is where they do all the labs throughout the week where you work with the Apple engineers, and they'll look at your app and stuff. So it was pretty dead in there, no photos, it's pretty secret. And then, so we're showing off our apps to the PR people, and then they say, stop everything, stand around the table, and we have Tim coming in, you're gonna show him off your app, and we're all just like, oh.
Did he say something special to you about your app?
Yeah, he was just, because each of us, in the end, he was like, he's so glad to see that we're all working on things for other people, and not just building, I guess, junk.
Yeah, he's a real humanitarian type of guy.
All our work was going to help other people, and he really noticed that.
So all the students there were working on apps for special...
It was no, just dealt with other people, not, yeah.
In other words, it just wasn't personally for you,
It
like a
was-
business or something,
Mhm.
but it was
like
to
a
help
utilities,
other
something.
people, right? So what, after you met with Tim and all that, what did you do during the week?
So that day started off, that was Sunday, and on Sunday we all 350 of the students, we all gathered to do orientation. And so this year it was held at Apple's new headquarters,
Wow.
where we got to eat lunch at one of the office cafes, and then they had like pizza, burgers, it was good. And we all walked over to the Steve Jobs Theater, and they've only held the one iPhone event there. So this was like the first time anybody was seeing it. So we got to gather around, and we filled the auditorium, and where a few engineers and employees come up and tell us how to make the most out of the week. And then, so the Monday is probably the most exciting day. That's of course the keynote.
I'm Austin
We're
Lundell from
ready to
India.
find out
I
about,
developed the app Net
Just a-
Shopify.
My app is a voice, and I built it for people.
Who's that guy? Okay, so Monday was exciting.
So Monday's the keynote, where all the new stuff gets released. So they've packed all 5,000 of us into the room. So it's like, it's a convention center, so it's pretty big. And it's just little folding chairs like these, and it's pretty dark. And they had a giant screen, and when he takes over the stage, it's pretty
So
electric.
you were there for what we see on the internet?
Yeah, what they stream, better view from the stream. But we had a nice seats up front just for us. And Monday's probably the best because you go right back and we download all the new stuff to play with
Oh,
and talk about all the.
so you're on 12 and
Yep, I've got a
dark,
hobby.
whatever?
I love the dark one.
So they gave you, how did they give that to you?
They have a whole download page, so if you're a registered developer, we get all this stuff to play with right from the.
Right away.
Yeah, and then they have the public beta comes out like next month for the others.
Did you find a lot of bugs in that stuff?
Yeah, that's like, we have to fill them out, because they say the engineers tell us, fill them out within the first few releases, and so they can work on it, because after that, they start to get lost in trying to focus on everything to get ready to ship. And then Tuesday and the rest of the week is filled with what they call sessions and labs. So the sessions, you go to each, a team of the engineers who actually work on the new features. They tell you how to use them, like in a presentation, and they'll give you a demo and everything. And then the labs where you get to go meet with the engineers, those are packed. That's where everybody goes to. That's where you get the most of your, your money worth for your ticket. And that's why the company send them there, so they can actually get help.
Or is it just the kids that go to labs, but all the participants?
All the attendees.
So you're a regular attendee,
Mhm.
you don't have special?
They identify us with a little different colored lanyard, but we're treated the same. We get to go everywhere we need to go. They do have a scholarship lounge for the students, which has got separate Wi-Fi and food. So that's nice.
So, and when you go to these, listen to these engineers, were you could you follow what they were doing? I mean, did you feel,
A lot of the
was
new stuff.
was it over your head, is what I'm saying?
Some of it, like any of the technologies I don't use, that I've never really touched, is kind of different, but that's why you go and listen, because you might be able to find a way to add it to one of my apps and make use of it. But for the most part, I go to the sessions that, like what I'm working with, so that I can find out how to better use it in my app.
So let's back up a little bit. And let me ask you about, when did you start learning to code, and what got you interested in doing that?
So I started in 2012 over the summer. So there's a website called Code Academy, and so they just had different tutorials. I started with HTML, so like to build websites. So each morning I'd get up early and just kind of go on the laptop in the kitchen and just start working. And then I guess the inspiration really came from him. Chris, yeah, he's my brother, he's got Down syndrome. And so he wanted he wanted an app to find a girlfriend.
Now, did it work? Not yet, not yet.
So that's how it all started. And then with Code Academy, though, HTML is their own language to learn, so I kind of spent the whole summer making no progress. So we bought a bunch of different textbooks and a lot of YouTube tutorials and stuff like that, and all of Apple's documentation. So using all that, you kind of just teach yourself how to.
So you're basically self-taught?
All self-taught with just a few books and YouTube.
So did Dad, were you involved in him learning, or did he kind of do it on his own, or?
He started on his own, and then the one that's getting a lot of the press now, which is My Voice, I gave the ideas. I'm a special ed teacher. So the kids I work with, a lot of them are nonverbal and can't talk. So we use what's called a PEX book, which is a picture exchange. So they would have to take their book with all these Velcro pictures and put them together to come up with a sentence to speak.
Right.
Well, I said there's got to be an easier way, so together him and I came up with the idea to come up with it electronically on the, using an app, which is now called My Voice. So it actually just has pictures in it they can just tap, or if ones that are more high function, they can actually type full sentences in there and talk. I think he'll show it to you guys later. That one's making a whole big splash and is being used by Lee County School District.
That's right, that's what I showed Tim. I showed that off to him.
So the school district is using it now?
There are, like Lee County's using it in some of their things.
The
I think
hospital?
there's another, Galsama Hospital's using it with some of their things. And I also believe there's a school in Australia that is, has a little bit.
We've got users in, I know there's one in Canada. She's giving me great feedback on it. She has a student, just all over the place.
So what did it take for you to get this app in the App Store?
So from start to finish, you gotta start with the designs and everything. So originally, just recently, we launched a new update to My Voice, which added a lot of new features to it. And so that, I started off with a lot of the great ideas come from shower thoughts. I'll tell you.
Come from where?
When he's in the shower.
Oh, in the shower. Shower thoughts.
And then,
Me too.
Me too.
usually I draw them up, and then with that I start laying out how it should all work. And then on paper is your best piece, because that's how you know it's all going to come together. And then usually takes probably a couple months. I spend a lot of time on the weekends, and like this summer is when I'm free, so I can get a lot of work done. And then.
So do you send this in, and when you send it in to them, what do you have to do to document
So
it?
they handle like all you bundle it up and then upload it to them, and it's just, they review it to make sure it works, make sure it goes with other guidelines, and then if it's all approved, you just release it. And what's great about them is they have the whole app store, so everything from building it in Xcode, which is their app, to code and everything, and you can upload it right from there. And then there's an online dashboard where you can fill in all the details and then ship it off.
So once they give you approval, you can just upload it yourself?
Yeah, you can do it automatically, or I like to do a manual release with like a date. And then,
How many times have you had to update it, or did you want to update it?
My Voice has been updated a few times. So the first version came out. When version 2 came out, I kind of built it to work on the iPad, which was good for the classrooms. And then the latest updates got a lot of new features, kind of redesigned it all. And most of the apps are just trying to update just to keep like any issues arises fixed, like crashes or bugs.
And do you go to people to get feedback on it? How do you do that? Do you contact people you know that are using it?
So you can do if you want to do like a wider rollout, you can beta test it. So you can actually get a bunch of people to sign up with their emails and actually download it and test it out for you. And with the app, they'll be able to report the feedback right back to you. Or usually I take it to him, let him test it out, and just kind of, if you keep it close, you can have the people tell you right away.
Well, I was just thinking about using it with the clients that would be using it? So it's like a teacher or...
Yeah, so rolling out, like, in his classroom, like, they'll let me know if there's anything.
Okay, so you tested out in your classroom, John?
Wasn't my class where I tested out in, his was
He's a great
in,
promoter.
someone he was with, actually a kid that he went to school with, we downloaded on his thing and they started using it, and then Lee County saw it and they started downloading it for a bunch of their other things.
Uh-huh.
Like a bunch of other students.
And then they would give you feedback to see what works well and yeah.
And we also get feedback actually from our emails and stuff too. People,
Okay.
there are users who do use it if they have an issue. Like one of the new features he added to it was actually because someone called and asked about it, since I've been using it. I guess their kid goes in and deletes a lot of the stuff from it. And they wanted to passcode protected because you can customize it. So let's say his special treat is Reese's Pieces. He wants to ask for that all the time. I can't look. They would load that in there and he kept deleting it. So they asked it to be password protected. So a lot of people would just reach out to us and ask for certain things and he updates it that way.
So you wouldn't think that kids would be deleting it until somebody did it, right?
Yeah, right. So,
And then, yeah, and you don't realize that, and then when they let you know, it's like, oh, yeah, we'll have that feature for them.
Terrific,
Anything to keep them happy,
good.
keeps them using it.
Okay, let me ask you another question. Do you do other kinds of apps besides My Voice or things, specialty apps for people with disabilities? Do you do games or other kinds of things? Tell us some of the other things
So
you
a
do.
lot of my small projects were a bunch of games. So just like different kind of simple games just to see if any of them would take off, because with like the craze of your Flappy Bird and stuff, we try and make your simple addictive games see if they catch on. But mainly the ones that really kind of, I guess the newsworthy ones are the ones that help others.
Uh-huh.
And so You Belong is the social network for people with special needs. And then I have a couple projects in the works, but just always working on like stuff on the side just to keep busy.
now he has also created ones for other people.
Yeah.
Like we
Got
had
some
a
client
lady who
ones.
owns a photography studio out in Sanibel Island. She wanted to create
Scavenger.
a scavenger hunt. So when people come out there to visit the island and stuff, so she had it so it went to different local businesses and things like that. You get to explore the island, so he created a scavenger hunt for them. And then there's a lady also here in Naples that runs a business. It's like a physical therapy business for the elderly. So she uses a lot of music and things like that. And she goes to a lot of nursing homes and things. And she wanted a database created that has all her videos and music and stuff in it. She could just go and pull them up while she's out of places, and other people could do it. So he also created that for her as well. So he does have that little business on the side, creating other things.
Okay, so I mean, I know a lot of people that create websites.
He actually
You know,
created
that's a
apps for
business,
them.
you know, coming, but I didn't know that you, people that created specialty apps,
Yeah.
I mean, is that just unique?
That's like a whole new thing.
Oh,
People-
really?
I guess people wanting apps for their businesses, or even if they just have ideas, you can just build them.
How do you charge for that, right? Or do you charge?
It depends on like the project and stuff, and how long it's gonna take and what it needs. There's a lot of components in the back that can get costly to add.
Yeah, especially the scavenger one needs like geolocations and stuff in
Yeah.
there and things.
Now, you're talking, do you have to buy stuff to put into your apps, or you have to find them, or?
For mine, use a lot of services that you pay for as you use them. So like different, like the servers in the back end that host everything, or your different locations, your maps. Just there's a lot of components that you can companies offer that you put into it. And then, but since I'm building it, like there's no cost to me.
Right, you're only you're gonna get paid
I
down the
yeah.
road, right?
So in other words, if you make an app for geolocation and you want to include Google as a driver, Google Maps, they'll have to pay the service to use the Google
Yeah.
Maps.
So like if I have a client that wants to add that, eventually they'll create the account and pay for it, plus me. Yeah.
So there's upfront there, right? Yeah. Now, what is your, I know you're going to college. Tell us where you're going and what you're going to major in.
So there's the newest university in the States called Florida Polytechnic. It's in Lakeland. It's like 30 minutes outside of Disney. And so it's entire, like, all engineering. That's their big thing, state-of-the-art labs and a lot of different courses that focus on upcoming tech. So they have a lot of industry partners. They partner with Publix, who's also based in Lakeland right there. And so these companies tell them what they're looking for in employees, and then like they put that into their curriculum, and then when we graduate, we're ready to.
So are you basically going to be a computer engineer? Is that what you're making?
So I'll be studying computer engineering, but they offer everything from just computer programming to machine intelligence, which would be like your artificial intelligence, and even like supply chain and business.
So it's possible that you might get involved and then maybe go in a little different direction after you...
Yeah, because they've got like animation and game design too, so it's pretty, there's a lot of aspects there to learn.
When you met with some of these young people from around the country, where were they going with their... Were you pretty much on the same track as
Yeah,
you
a
were?
lot of them study computer science.
What?
Computer science, which would just be your programming. For computer engineering, you're kind of combining like that with robotics though, so I kind of like that.
Okay, so engineering is a little more complicated
A
than...
little more hardware, yeah.
Yeah.
Computer science would be strictly like on a computer. I don't know if I'm going to do that.
My grandson is a computer engineer, and he's getting heavily involved in AI now. So I think we're going to hear from him in November. But
Yeah.
do you have any thoughts about that?
It's up and coming. Like we have Siri, we got Alexa,
Right.
we got Google. There's just so many, and they're all.
Now, is
They're all
that,
getting smarter.
math-wise, is that a higher level of math than just, not
Yes.
just, but computer
Yeah.
engineering in general?
Because like behind it, you have to do the machine learning process, which would be actually teaching the different AI to actually learn, which gets pretty intense computer-wise when it's like actually learning, because it has to like iterate over it thousands of times.
Okay, so in addition to coding and engineering, you also now have to learn machine learning, which is like a whole
So it
another thing.
kind of combines computer programming, but it's just, yeah, there's like a whole nother aspect of math to it that has to be involved. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, but it's going to affect all our lives. Yeah. He tells me, especially in the area of health, it's going to become very important, yeah.
How long do you think how long does it take you to get the degree that you're looking for?
4 years?
4 years?
Computer engineering, yeah.
And then, based on, do you have any idea what you want to do in the long run?
There's I'd love to work for Apple or even Disney, like being an Imagineer they're working on, because they're, behind the scenes, there's so much tech going on there. Or I'd also love to just run my own company.
Did, when you were out there, did they talk about you're having a job there at some point?
You can upload a resume with the application, and they'll look at it. I guess, like for me, a lot of the students are younger, but there's a few older ones who do, like when you talk with the engineers in like a different part of the company that you'd like to work with, you can chat with them and get some contacts.
And it's something that he's not telling though, because he's not really supposed to say anything. He is going July, he is meeting with Apple in New York. They do want him to come collaborate on a secret project for some of the new stuff that's coming out. So he will be with them in July, so we're heading to New York, so he's gonna spend 3 days with them. So there is probably an opportunity for him to actually eventually work with him, since they called him and asked him if he could fly to New York and spend a few days with them collaborating on the new MacBooks that are coming out.
And there's probably things that you can't tell us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got a call with them.
Did they make you sign?
Yeah.
Non-disclosure,
Yep.
right? Now-
So he'll actually be having the technology in his hand. They aren't giving him the new stuff to play with, so he'll actually have it. So that's why he's not allowed to release or say anything until it actually comes out.
Right. Well, I'm sure that you will abide by all those rules.
Do you have to put bars up around your door and
Probably, probably got a lot
keep
of
your parents out?
Yeah.
Now, you do have a lot of interest and you've been working with Apple technology, but you're trying to get your apps on other platforms, right?
Yeah.
And does that require different, like a totally different
Yeah, because
piece?
you've got all the, like your big app stores are, you've got your Apple App Store, there's Google Play, Microsoft's got one, and then there's just, you can also upload your apps to like, just general, like you can download them for the Mac. So with all the different app stores, they all go with like a different operating system. So for Android, which is so broad, you have to rebuild the entire app and like almost replicate it. So that's why at a lot of companies that have two apps for the platforms, they usually have two whole separate teams that work on it.
So if you want to put this on, yeah.
Android?
Yeah.
Now, I was
Yeah,
thinking, what do you call it? What's an iPad called? A tablet. If you want to put it on a tablet for another
Yeah.
operating system, you would have to practically redo the whole thing.
Yeah, so with the iPad, since it still runs iOS, it's easy. You just have to make sure it fits and it'll run there. But like for an Android tablet, you have to rebuild the entire app to use, it's like Java or...
Now, why are you so into Apple as opposed to the other systems? Is it just because that's where you've been, or is it's something about Apple that you prefer?
I've always been a big fan of just Apple products in general, and then so that's why I started with it. But also the whole process that Apple has, because they make the app that you build with, and they control the whole process from start to finish with the App Store and everything. And then, like when you go to Android, though, there's so many phones and stuff that uses it. And there's so many companies that make the phones that you don't know if you launch an app, it's going to work on every single device. So there's like a lot of uncertainty there. So with the App Store, it's just like you'll get business and people use it, which could lead to revenue.
So if you were in the Google store, you don't know which phone is going to be,
Yeah, because like
is going to be
you get a Samsung
trying to
phone
use
to
that.
download it, or it could be a Google phone, and all the different versions, they all vary too. So
Now, did your app work on the phone as well as on the iPad?
they're both universal. Yeah, I like to keep that. That's a good key. Apple likes that when they work on both devices.
Okay, let's see if any more questions I haven't asked you. Is there anything else you want to tell us about you before we play your app what I haven't asked you about?
I think we covered everything.
Yeah, really?
Are there any questions from out here?
How did you get started? You say you've been doing this for 6 years. Was it by playing games that you wanted to make your own games?
Yeah, so like with a lot of the games that were becoming famous and you play them, it's like, oh, I want to make these. How does it happen? And then so you look into it, and then there's like a whole bunch of tutorials. Like there's more now, but like back in 2012, it wasn't as big to build an app, so it required a lot more work to look into it and find out.
Jim?
You mentioned one of the possible goals might be working for Disney. Is that in film and media creation?
Actually, like working on the rides and like how they're working on the new Star Wars land. Like there's a whole lot of stuff that even they keep secret, but there's like a lot of tech going in behind it that's going to make the ride super immersive and stuff.
And hopefully safe.
Yeah. So working on that would be pretty fun.
Where the money is, right?
Yes.
What have you done on the Swift Playground?
So Swift Playground, the only time I've ever used it was to build the playgrounds for the scholarship. And so the one I did this year was basically you build an algorithm with like controlling a bunch of balls that would drop and then like making it in a loop. And then you'd train like I guess an AI what different emojis look like by drawing them, and then when you'd actually draw it in, it would guess it. And since that's like one of their big things, I guess they loved it.
Bob?
Apple made quite a big deal at the developer conference about Swift. Is it really a much simpler language, easier to learn, easier to work with?
Compared to the old one, Objective-C, it takes that, it's based off the same C language, but Swift is like, it gets rid of a lot of the stupid stuff and really simplifies it all down. But it's still, since it's still a whole new language, you still gotta learn it. So if you're starting fresh, it still takes some time.
How would Swift shorten, if it was available at the time, would it have half the time or 1/10 of the time?
Yeah, like now what it does is it actually simplifies a lot of like the build process. So like when you're actually like running the app and testing it out, it builds a lot quicker. So they're really focusing on performance.
When you were in high school, I'm assuming you took the highest level math classes you could, is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Was that sufficient, or did you have to do more online learning in math to get to where you are now?
Yeah, it was fine for me.
Really?
Yeah.
So how did you learn about algorithms and all that good stuff?
Usually that, you just gotta look up and see what's online, because there's a lot of tutorials behind stuff, which when you actually practice it, it all comes together and works out.
Okay, so you did some online
Yeah.
tutorials in addition to what you learned in school.
Yeah, like school it's not gonna teach me about algorithms.
Right? Well, that's why I was asking you the question.
So, yeah, going online, you find a lot of resources to help out.
Did you ever enter any contests in math or? No. So basically, what you learned in school, what you taught yourself, and what you got online, tutoring or books or whatever. So
That's how it all came together.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
Your program is called My Voice.
Yep.
I just looked it up on here, and all I get is voice changing, so you sound like a celebrity or a chipmunk or whatever.
It's I'll come over and play with it after, but it's a blue icon, it's got a little face on it.
It's one word, my voice.
Yeah, one word, my voice.
Oh, it's one word,
Yeah.
not My Voice. Gotcha.
You got it.
So if you were talking to like my grandson who loves to play the game, what could I say to him that would encourage him to try to make his own game? Just how would he go about it?
Okay. To go about
Would
doing
he go
it.
on to something in the Apple Store or?
There are a few apps that do teach programming, but a lot of them are mainly websites. So definitely look up, like even if you just search iOS development tutorials on like YouTube or just Google in general, there's a lot of sites with like step-by-step tutorials and a lot of samples you can actually look at. But for games, I guess just being able to like make your own games is kind of fun.
Because his parents are really upset with him in the summer that he wants to play all these games, so we could get something learning in there.
You can build the games.
Yeah,
There you go.
he might sit better with his parents.
Yeah.
Well, I think they, if I'm correct, I've been reading in the Naples Daily News that Collier County Public Schools are teaching some basic coding stuff. They even teach it to little kids, just kind of the basic fundamentals of coding. So I think there are probably educational apps out there that you can start with to get the concept of what you have to do to code, as opposed to the old DOS method of.
Yeah, there's a bunch of mobile apps for the iPad you can use. Apple even has their own course. I know they have one lower level, and then they also have like a whole college-based level.
Yeah, I think they're trying to put this into the curriculum in the public schools to get kids interested, and especially girls, because a lot of them are not getting involved. What was the ratio of girls to boys in your group?
This year, I noticed there was a lot of people on Twitter who were there, said they're super proud because this was the first year there was a line for the ladies' restroom. So they were really happy with that. But even with the scholarships, it's a pretty good chunk. It's still heavily male, but like it's growing every
More
year.
and more girls each year.
So it's getting better.
Good. Any other questions? Okay, you want to give us?
No, there's some more questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mary?
Yes, I was just wondering, in the beginning of your week at the conference, you were in a room, just a few students, and they gave you advice how to optimize the week. Do you remember some of the advice you had?
Yeah, the main one is stay hydrated. And then to make use of the labs, because that's the only time you'll have ever to actually be one-on-one with engineers. So I definitely did that to like take a look at the apps and see what could be done better.
Yes.
Do you advertise your business on social media? And have you ever thought of working at Cape Canaveral instead of Disney? And then also, do you envision the My Voice app working for other special needs populations, like maybe seniors?
So advertising, yeah, social media definitely helps to share it. Still got to grow, like marketing requires a budget, so.
He has a website.
Yeah, the website, that kind of helps, but like doing all this with the whole, even with the conference and just having the PR people, because I did a few podcasts, meeting with Tim, just all that really helps to do like organic with no cost. What's it on, Cape Canaveral there?
Space, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I'd love to work for SpaceX. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's good. And then if your My Voice applies to any other population?
So we've even had, one of the user reviews was a mother who went into a vocal cord surgery, so she used My Voice to yell at her kids. And even stroke victims have used it, and there's a whole reach that's possible with My Voice.
Great.
That would be great, yeah.
Now,
You got a big potential here in the room.
Now, also with his reach, because he is out there, Microsoft has also been trying to get to him. He actually has spent some time with Microsoft. There is actually a TV show that'll be on August
17th.
Which will have a feature about him with one of his other apps. It's called You Belong. It's a thing called We Day. So I think I might have sent you the clip. It might be in your emails. So you can actually see the small clip of it too, which will go on. So we'll actually be on ABC in August at 8 o'clock. So it's about another one of his apps, which is a social network for special needs kids to try and, it's like a safe haven where they can go and surf the web and talk to each other. And parents and stuff are allowed on there too to communicate and talk and get ideas.
So they found that, one of the producers found that story going online looking for teens with like tech and stuff. And so she reached out and was like she wanted to move quick to get the film crew out here, and that was a blast.
And that's because You Belong is also now available not only on the App Store, but that's also on Google Play.
Yeah,
So
that's
we
one
did
of the only ones that have
with that
on Android.
So Google and Amazon and Apple, are they out there searching for this young talent?
I think that's why Apple holds the conference, because they just get to collect 5,000 people who they could probably have work for them.
Well, I can give you a little insight into that. My grandson went to UC Berkeley in California, and each summer he was offered an internship with a different company.
Yeah,
One summer Google, one summer Microsoft. He ended up working for Facebook and a music, like not Spotify, but something like that.
Yeah.
And they're pretty good internships. They give you room and board and money.
And money.
Yeah, but it's if you can get the internships in the summer, and they're anxious because then they can look at these kids and they can see maybe if we can hire them into our company, because they're always looking for the best that they can hire. But it also gives the kids a way to look at the different companies to see, how does Microsoft operate, how does Google operate, how does Apple operate, is that compatible with my values or my goals or whatever. So, but they're very active in trying to recruit young people and give them internships, which is great for the kids, but it's also great for the companies too. Yeah. Have you been inside Disney to see what they do, or you just know about it?
I just know about with Disney because just
You met
whenever we go up, yeah, we did lunch with an Imagineer, so you get to like drill him with questions and some stuff he can't tell you, but
Right.
like he was fun. And
Well,
then-
I guess they can't tell you because it's all
Yeah,
the
until it comes
competition,
out.
right?
Yeah. With all the theme parks.
Any other questions?
Did you get a scholarship to Florida Polytechnic, or how did you choose that school?
Not a full one, but like they give you a little bit to help out. But it's still, since it's in-state, it was relatively cheap.
You want to show us the apps?
On the main screen here, the users can, the text box at the top allows them to actually type in like a full sentence. So we'll do.
Hello, my name is John.
Okay. And so if they can't verbalize it, but they're able to type it all in, so they can actually like ask for whatever they need. And then since it's on the front page, all the bottom buttons here are like quick access to like a
Hello. Goodbye.
whatever they need on the spot. And then so the menu at the top left there will contain all the different pages they can access, which just has all the different features. So what we were talking about with the textbook with the Velcro, and you line it all up. So each one in here, you'll see they're all just different images, and they're all super simple with the little label underneath. So all you have to do is tap it, and then
Thank you. Help.
and they all have the different words assigned to it.
Can you change the voice?
You can't make it male. Apple doesn't. They haven't given us like access to that yet. I've looked into it because people ask for it. So. And then here's custom. So what the one lady wanted to, if your word's not in the categories, but you want to add it, say Reese's Pieces, or what she's doing, she's adding photos of teachers and then adding their names to it. So you can actually tap it and it'll say out the teacher name. So here we have.
Golden Retriever. Graduation.
So any of the words that aren't there, we can add. And so one of the cool things though is when you go to add it, here we'll do. So when you go to add it, using like the artificial intelligence, it'll guess what you added in the image there, and then it'll autofill it so the student doesn't actually have to type it in. And so all you have to do is hit the check mark, and it'll load it in. And then with one of the updates.
Desktop computer.
Now, if they have an iPad at home and an iPad at school, as long as it's logged into the same iCloud, it'll sync across all the devices, whatever they have in here.
Yeah. So it's almost like facial recognition, but for objects?
So it's got like a whole database, it's like thousands of objects. So you can do different plants, like even with the
Golden Retriever.
Dog there, it'll know what the dog is.
That would be good for me now.
Let's see. So going with the recognition, there's this one which will. Oh, that's a good one here.
Water bottle.
So whatever they're looking at, so you can have different, like on their desk, maybe a pencil, and they want to ask for it. They can just point it at it, and they'll recognize it and speak it aloud. And then here.
How does the icon look for it? How does the icon look for it, for your app, for this app?
Oh, it's the you have it
Yeah,
there? It's I'll show you after. It's like blue with the face on it. And so here is right top. So if they don't want to actually type it out, you can actually write it by hand.
So is it loaded with a lot of pictures in it that they could press on? And
Yeah, the simple ones, there's like a few hundred in there, but then like if you find something that you don't have or we don't have, you can add a
So,
custom.
like a toddler learning to speak.
Mhm.
They could play with
Yeah, so you'll see the different objects and you actually hear how it's spoken.
TikTok.
Hello, my name. Hello, my name is John.
So that's all handwritten right on the bottom there. And then, let's see. So you said with the, so here you can actually have, this is loaded with a bunch of different words at the top here. And so you'll be able to hear how it's spoken.
University.
And then when you speak it back to it, you'll see the wave at the bottom there will get bigger. University. And so you can actually, this one's good for the stroke victims to actually practice speaking back how it sounds, but it also teaches different words too.
And there.
And then here's settings, so you can actually adjust the different pitch, which kind of make the sound a little bit deeper, but doesn't actually switch the gender. The speed to make it talk faster, and the natural volume. And then down there, this is the toggle to add the passcode. So just type in like digits, whatever you want, and then it'll actually end up locking it over here. So let's add it here. So you see. Right. Then when you go here to delete, you have to enter the passcode before you can actually make any changes. There you go. So that's my voice.
What's the other one you're going to show us?
You want to see You Belong? So this is a social network that's very similar to Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. So you create an account, add your profile, and then you'll be here to be able to add images. You can see this one here is just like similar to a tweet. It's just text. And so we'll walk you through. Take a photo.
So exactly what is this app compensating for?
So it's just like an online social network, but it's like exclusive to people with special needs and their families. So you avoid the cyberbullying of Facebook and the other your big ones where people with special needs probably get lost. There we go.
Are there a lot of people now on this?
Just hit like 1,300 because it was featured on the App Store and it was like a massive download craze.
Is that free?
Yeah.
How do you keep other people off of it?
You can't really. So
Yeah, we've kicked
that's
people
the
off. We have a
problem.
back server where we lock them out of if we find out they're doing stuff on there.
You gotta kind of stay on top of it, but like as it grows, you kind of.
Yeah, once it gets too big, it'll be too hard for us to watch them. Right now, it's small enough for us to see who's on there. We follow everybody that's on it right now, so we've had a couple of people we've had to kick off, but
Not too bad.
after this TV show airs, we're
I'm
worried about how
expecting
big
it's
it's gonna get, so at that point, it's gonna be a little harder.
Yeah. So this showed estimate a reach of 3 million people, and so I'll figure it's probably gonna be a lot of people, and it's gonna be like uncontrollable after.
So
That'd be good.
they are anticipating an audience of 3 million?
So then you can sell ads.
John, what time is it on August 17th?
I think it's check the date just to confirm.
It's ABC?
It's on ABC. It's August 17th at 8 p.m.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah.
You have the link for part of the clip, you can show them the clip for it.
I don't. I just usually email you. You have it?
I do.
You posting it? The word?
Can you make it a closed group so people have to get permission to join?
Yeah, I want to add that, so like, this is like really basic, but I want to redo like a lot of the stuff to make it kind of similar to Facebook, so you can create groups and have that like that friendship and community.
Do you want to sell ads eventually on your sites or?
Yeah, because you can do like native ones, so like I can sponsor a post that every user sees it. So like if somebody wanted to advertise, I could do that. But at the bottom you see there's just like a small ad banner. Help with that.
I forwarded you the email if you want to see the links in there.
Let's see.
What are we looking at?
This will be part of the stuff that'll air on ABC. This is
Okay.
part of the You Belong clip. This is sponsored by Microsoft, because they're trying to get into it.
Now, Weedy, as you know, this is my first time here, so thank you so much for making me feel welcome. I appreciate that. I'm sure you can all relate to being a new kid at something, right? Well, I'd like to introduce you to a family whose own experience with being new kids led to a pretty amazing idea. Let's meet the Cioccas.
For the last 15 years, we lived in Voorhees, New Jersey, where we were very tied into the community. Both kids grew up there, we were very established.
My company transferred me from New Jersey to Florida.
It was very hard, it was a big decision trying to take everybody away from all that.
And the last thing you want as a parent is to create more stress in your child's life. It weighed heavy on our hearts, but we did it.
Jersey was my home. Leaving was hard, but it was definitely harder for my brother Christian. He had to leave his tight-knit group of friends and kind of start fresh here.
It's hard for me making new friends. It's hard to understand me because my disabilities. I feel like my heart is broken because I want to be like different. It's hard.
When Christian was born, we didn't know he was going to have Down syndrome. And the night he was born, we saw a shooting star. He took us on a whole new journey, a bunch of new friends, new opportunities, and John came 14 months later.
Chris and I have been through everything together, and he is really the inspiration for everything I've done. I'm going to show you something.
My brother, he made an app called You Belong.
You Belong is a free social network for people with differing abilities and their families. The idea of the app came as a way for us to connect with the people that we left behind, and as a way to also make new friends in here. So what do you think about this, Chris?
That's just cool.
While Chris is using You Belong, he's posting photos every day.
I like to post my dogs, my family.
My brother's the #1 beta tester. He tells me what he wants, and I'll make sure it gets in there.
When I see the boys collaborating on the app, it makes me feel very confident that they're guiding each other.
I believe in using technology for good because growing up around people with different abilities, I've seen how life is a little bit harder, and I just want to make it as inclusive as possible. It's great to see technology allowing everybody to connect, and it makes me feel proud that we were able to create something so awesome.
Christian was first born. We didn't know where to go, so we turned to other parents, and they helped us out. So this is giving back.
Today is a perfect example of how you can use the app in order to meet other people, all different ages, and
Other parents, and they helped us out. So this is giving back.
today is a perfect example of how you can use the app in order to meet other people, all different ages, and get together and just be themselves and have fun.
I have so many friends. Thanks to You Belong.
streaming is a little slow.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to show us? That it?
That's it.
John, how to speak up different?
That one, you can, so schools create accounts, and then you select your school from within the app, and then you can actually message them different things, like if you see bullying, it's like kind of anonymous, but you can also ask questions about like events and stuff.
John, are you selling stock yet in your company?
Always looking for investors.
How much is it per share?
Get it now. Watch it now.
John, thank you very much.